Günaydın. Bugünkü konuşmaya hoş geldiniz. Konuşmacımız Doktor Erdal Yılmaz. Ben Erdal Bey ile 1998-97'den beri tanışıyorum. Kendisiyle de uzun yıllar çalıştık. Kendisi Orta Doğu Teknik Üniversitesi'nden doktorasını aldı 99 yılında. Ve doktora çalışmaları sırasında da benim eski çalıştığım üniversite IUPUI'ya araştırma yapmak üzere, doktora araştırmalarını tamamlamak üzere gelmişti. Bir TÜBİTAK bursuyla. 5 ay içerisinde çalışmalarını tamamladı ve doktorasını Orta Doğu Teknik Üniversitesi Havacılık bölümünden aldı. Erdal Bey ondan sonra uzun yıllar bizim üniversitede bizim Computational Fluid Dynamics diye bir isimli bir laboratuvarımız vardı. Orada araştırma asistanı olarak çalıştı, araştırma profesörü olarak çalıştı aynı zamanda. Çalışmalarımız genellikle birlikte oldu. Computational Fluid Dynamics alanında paralel programlama konusunda, işte büyük çaplı problemlerin çözümü konusunda. 2008 yılından itibaren de Jackson State Üniversitesi'nde bir araştırma merkezinde, ismini görüyorsunuz burada, araştırma merkezinde araştırma yardımcı profesör olarak, yardımcı doçent olarak çalışıyor. Sırf araştırmayla, sırf araştırmalardan gelirini temin ediyor ve sırf araştırma yapıyor. Ders biliyorum, bilmiyorum, veriyorum, onu da anlatır bize. Şimdi size en son yaptığı çalışmalarla ilgili bilgiler sunacak. Buradan sonra da ben kendisiyle yemeğe gideceğim. İsteyenleriniz de bize katılabilir kuşkonmazda. Tekrar kendisine hoş geldin diyorum ve size de teşekkür ediyorum katıldığınız için. Çünkü bir gün önce bunu ilan ettik. Çok da fazla ümitli değildim ama yine önemli kişiler burada.
Evet, çok teşekkür ederim Hasan Hocam. İngilizce mi, Türkçe mi konuşmam, nasıl yapmam gerekiyor ve ikisi arasında gelip gitme şeklinde mi olmalı?
Sunumun İngilizce ise İngilizce yapabilirsin.
Evet, İngilizceydi. Ama yani Türkçe'de
nasıl istersen
arzu ederseniz o da
tercih
olur.
nedir? Fark etmez.
Hayır.
Burası bilingual.
Tamam.
Nasıl istersen.
Teşekkürler Hasan Hocam. Sizlerin de dinlemeye geldiğiniz için sizlere ayrıca teşekkür etmek isterim. Hasan Bey emekli olduğunda biz Florida'ya gider diye düşünüyorduk. Oraya taşınıp belki tatil beldesinde ama Türkiye'yi tercih etti. O da bizim için gurur verici, sevindirici bir gelişme oldu. Üniversiteye gelip tabii oradaki tecrübeleri aktarmak gibi bir amaç da elbette çok takdir ettiğimiz bir gelişme oldu. Benim bugünkü konuşmam ismi Simulation of the Flow Around the Moving Objects. This work was sponsored by the several institutions in the US. The first one is the Northrop Grumman Center. Northrop Grumman Shipbuilding System. The Northrop Grumman Center, actually the name comes from this company, but we don't have really any organic connection with the company. At the beginning they donated some money to the university, so in a way they purchased the title and the name, but we don't really have any organic connection with the company. But we collaborate in some projects. They come us and want to see if they can use any of the tools that we develop in their CFD related projects. And also the Army Research Office had supported some projects, and the Homeland Security as well, and Army Research Lab, and NSF as well. And also the contributors to this presentation, the result that I'm going to present are the Abadi. He's actually the director of the center. He's my colleague also from Middle East Technical University. He graduated from Middle East Technical University and then moved to US and got a PhD and then stayed at the university. And Bella Soni and Jubur Sapu and Pat Collins from Army Research Lab and Martin. So in Northrop Grumman Center, we have a flow solver package that we call CAMEL. CAMEL has no relation with actually the animal, but it's a computational analysis of engineering lab. It's an acronym for that. And this is really a complicated, very sophisticated software. It is written in Fortran and C language, mixed language, and it has been developed more than 20 years. Many people contributed to this flow solver package. At this time, we have different units, several units, but I can mention two. One is the CAMEL Aero. This is a compressible fluid flow package, and another one is CAMEL CHH. This is a hybrid incompressible fluid flow solver. We use finite volume for the CAMEL Aero code. This is a numerical discretization for those if you are not familiar with that. And it solves the Euler and Navier-Stokes equations on hybrid mesh. Hybrid mesh it's an unstructured mesh, but you can have TADs, hexagonal, pyramids, prism, so any combination of the elements. Over the years, actually, several validation studies have been done. This is a Toyota F1 race car. This is in the model that Dr. Akahi remembers this top of this building. We did some blue modeling and wind effect in Indianapolis. And this is a ship aerohydrodynamics analysis. In this one, we saw the two fluids. There is wave, sea, there is the water, so the sea waves have effect, and also the wind. So we calculate both. This is a two fluid flow solver. And this one is in Atlanta in 1995. They modeled the Atlanta metropolitan area to I think for an homeland security project. So they modeled malicious attacks if someone releases a hazardous gas in downtown area, so how far it's going to go. And for this one, they use like billions of gallons. Anyway, so this is just a general overview of this CAMEL flow solvers, because I wanted to give this general image. So the rest of the presentation actually is done using this CAMEL flow solver. And so the original CAMEL flow solver so this is okay. So this is the Toyota model. This is the turbulent flow around the wake region, and this is there is a release of the hazardous gas in downtown area, and so it spreads over the buildings. If the light might maybe looks better if the yeah. So in these models, we used 2.1 billion tetrahedrals. This is huge. At that time, actually, at that time, like in 1995, 2.1 billion tetrahedral elements. It was huge. It was actually a record size, mesh size. For that, we used Army supercomputers. this camel flow solver, it is fully implicit, and for this model, actually it sustained teraflop speed. And communication in this model, it took like 3.3% of the total time. And this shows a scaling of the code up to 512 processors in one of our supercomputers. It is pretty much very linear. And also we have this camel array. It's a compressible code. It is finite volume discretization is used, and it's a second order in time and space. It uses hybrid mesh, and its matrix-free GMRS iteration is used. We have detached eddy simulation. Detached eddy simulation is a combination of one of the algebraic models or the two-equation turbulence model with LES. So near wall, we use Spalart-Almaras turbulence model, and off the wall, for example, the wake region or outside, we use LES. So we validated this for several cases. So the topic of today's presentation is related with moving objects. To model moving objects, there are several different techniques. Today I'm going to present offset mesh and deforming mesh, these two. But there are other methods like embedded or immersed mesh. This is used very first in artificial heart flow modeling. Basically, you have a constant mesh in the domain, and then you have a geometry, and you want to cut out the geometry section from the mesh. And there is mesh morphing and metamesh. This is used in computer solid modeling, but not much application in CFD. Mesh stitching is, this is one of the technique very rarely used. I also worked on this one a little bit in IUPI. First I'm going to talk about overset mesh technique. Overset mesh technique is, so we have a moving object, like let's say this is a projectile, and this is moving, but to solve the flow field, we generate a mesh around. And if this object is moving, we have to move whole mesh. So either we are going to move this object and deform the mesh, or in the offset technique, there is a mesh just around this object, and this mesh moves. As it moves, there is a background mesh. So at the mesh boundary, we interpolate values back and forth every time step. When this moves, so this outer mesh overlap with another background mesh, and we solve both mesh around the object and background mesh, and then interpolate in between. So there are like some terms that we use, for example, hole cutting, range and donor and orphans, but I don't want to really go much deep into that. But basically, if this is projectile mesh, and here this at the blue boundary, we interpolate, we got the values at the blue boundary from the background mesh. Similarly, in the background mesh, you may get the value around this object at the boundary. Here is the blue. So you interpolate values of the blue in this mesh from this projectile mesh. For the overset tools, we didn't implement a new overset mesh technique, but there is in IUPI actually Dr. Akai, one of his PhD students, he implemented this from scratch. But we used a package which is developed with ARL, and that is called dirt live and sugar package. Basically, this dirt live handles parallel communication between the blocks, and sugar does the grid-related processes, like finding which is donor cell, which is fringe nodes, and how to interpolate, use second order or higher order interpolate, etc., and do the searching of the nodes. So these two packages that we used in our code, we don't really go into much coding in this one, but there are like some steps to follow before we do overset, applied mesh overset. So we generate individual blocks, mesh around projectile, mesh around background mesh, and then we combine those into one, but we know which block, which mesh belongs to which block. So we use, there is a package called parameters. This is freely available. This does mesh partitioning. So if you have, if you want to do like parallel computing, so you need to divide your domain into several different blocks, partitions. So the parameters is very useful, and it's already established, techniques. And so we use this to partition our mesh. And then we move the mesh and then generate the sugar motion file. I don't really want to go into much detail. But basically we run sugar and then generate some like a blanking values and do the interpolation in between. So this actually goes through that step. At the end, we have a solution, then we have to split this solution into two, background mesh and projectile mesh. Just to give you an idea how it looks like, so this is a Fortran coding in our code. So the dirt live has like some functions to call. Basically, we implement, this library function calls into our code in appropriate sections. But these are, especially these are user generated. So I implemented these subroutines, but again, these are dirt live related calls. So it's not really a big deal. Similarly, we have to do some modification in our code, and again, these are some other calls to communicate between blocks and then receive values between those two or more than maybe two blocks. And at the end, we have to do some corrections or some modifications in the code, blanking out certain nodes, etc. So what we did is we used this army projectile, and here is a mesh just around the projectile, and this is a background mesh. And when you look at close to the solid boundary, here we have boundary layers. Although this mesh is not really as good, because soon after the boundary layer you see that there is a huge jump in size. But this was just for the demonstration, not really for validation purposes. And also we use different mesh topology. This one is structured mesh. It's unstructured, but it's IJK ordered, like a hex and quads. And this one is unstructured tetrahedral mesh. This is how the partition looks like for those two blocks. This is projectile mesh and this is background mesh. I think here probably we use 16 or 32 partitions, maybe. And this is a partition and mesh of the projectile mesh. So for this one we use Metis parallel partitioner. It's really fast. You run it like in less than a minute, so you got the partition data. Partition data gives you which cell belongs to which block. That's it.
So does this partition change every time step, or how does it work?
No, every time step we have the same partition. We don't really have to run it because these are like separate blocks. Once it's assigned, then exchange is done on this boundary. And we also know, for example, this partition belongs to block 1. When I say block 1, it is, at this time we have 2 blocks, one background mesh and another projectile mesh. So this partition belongs to projectile mesh, and this partition belongs to background mesh. And we don't really have to update partition information every time.
Who keeps track of it then? Sugar or sugar?
Yeah, what we do is once we generate partition information, then we pass it to a dirt light. So the dirt light handles the communication between blocks and partitions. So dirt light package, it has the information of this connectivity of the partitions and blocks, or relations between the partitions and blocks. So it takes care of inside. This is a little dark, but basically what I was trying to show is there is a minimize overlap option. You can cut out either just in the outer boundary, or you can optimize the surface of the interpolation cells. And this is, again, shows the mesh. It's not as clear as in this display, but here is another mesh, 26 million cells, a little denser. And this is mesh around the just projectile. In this case, in the background mesh, we use all tetrahedral elements, and around the projectile, we use all hexagonal elements. And this one shows some results, and here, this is a background mesh, how the solution looks like. So we have a solution here, and then it's interpolated on the background mesh, so that all the information or the solution at the boundary transferred to this domain, and so we have the almost similar results as in this one. But in the projectile mesh, especially at the base region, because we use structured mesh and very dense mesh, the solution here doesn't look like the solution here, because this is a background mesh, it's very coarse. But we don't really have to use this background mesh for this base flow. We just go to projectile mesh and extract the values from that mesh. And in the base flow, it is unsteady actually. If you solve like second order, you will end up like unsteady vague region. But if you solve like first order, it's gonna give you like steady flow. This one is just a little animation. Let me see if it's gonna work. So this one, the one at the top, this is the solution on projectile mesh. Although the mesh size is really small, 5 million cells, but you see the unsteady changes. And this one, how it looks like in background mesh. And this shows streamlines of the same solution. It's not as clear, but you can get an idea how it looks like. So this is displayed on projectile mesh.
What is this solvent? Oscillator.
This is an oscillating projectile, like a 5 degrees oscillation of the projectile.
And also moving? No, just oscillating.
No, we don't do moving, just the oscillation. Yeah. Mach number for this one is 1.5, and angle of attack, the oscillation is 5 degrees plus and minus. Normally, when you fire a projectile, there is a spinning. So spinning is used to stabilize the flight. And also, as it spins, it also does the pitching oscillation, because it is, I mean, it's impossible. You can send it like at zero angle of attack, and there would be no oscillation, either pitching or the yawing oscillation. So that's impossible. And also when you do like a spinning, it also induces some pitching and yawing oscillation as well. So this was, Army is interested in this one. We implemented this code, and they probably use for some other much more detailed analysis. But in the university, we don't really. We are limited to only like unclassified works.
So they take this code and use it?
This code runs in Army supercomputer, so we install there.
And they use it?
They also use like this camel code whole package. They experiment, different things on that. And this is just to show the force change in the oscillation, and this one shows how the drag coefficient changes as it over the time step. So in Northrop Grumman Center at JSU, we have two clusters. One of them is the we call it HPC1. This has 10 nodes, 80 cores, and 330 gigabyte and 6 terabyte hard drive. This has faster connection. And the second cluster is a 2-rack Sun cluster. We have 64 nodes, altogether like 512 cores, and 1 terabyte of the memory. We use Opteron on that. And also we have access to Army supercomputing resources, and those are really very, very powerful computers. It has 120 terabytes, and there's another cluster, NJM, it has 53 teraflop, and the number of core on this one is like 10,000, it's really a lot. And they have new clusters, I haven't used yet, but we have access to those.
So this 512 processor case you run yours? No.
I run this one. I think I use like 32 processor or so.
What do you use for 512?
We run like for other projects, and we use atmospheric modeling. We have other projects from Homeland Security. They are interested in hurricane modeling, flooding, and evacuation, those kind of applications. And for that we use WRF, atmospheric modeling, and we use wave modeling. So first you solve the airfield, atmospheric airfield, and then the wave motion, and then when it comes to the shore, then how the flooding goes. So it's a very long running simulation.
Tsunami?
Tsunami can be modeled as well. It's a wave motion, so you initiate at one point and then it just advances very fast. And this shows the speed up for the parallel performance, and so we used up to 128 processor in ARL computers, and up to 64 in our cluster, in small cluster. So speed up is pretty reasonable and looks good. And this is a different view. This is a ball time in second per time step. This is the log scale. So how it looks like. Of course, the ARL computer, this Herald, is faster than all others. So this tells that. So for example, let's say for 128, it's almost like twice as fast as the other two. So this is some detailed timing, but I really don't want to go into detail. But basically, when you do like a parallel timing, you have to come up with like a communication time, solution time, turbulence time, and for each processor and compare each one. This is for overset update communication. Again, this compares 3 different computers.
I'm going to ask you again.
Yeah.
The overset, when this thing is moving,
Yeah.
doesn't the overset structure change? You know, some backgrounds and the, basically what is it, minor print, they always change, the information changes. How come the partition remains the same?
Well,
Is dirt lips that smart?
sugar, we run sugar to handle every time to get the new interpolation points. Yeah.
So sugar is that smart?
Yeah. Yeah. So once you partition,
You don't have to worry.
yeah. Because, so let's say this is partition 1, this is partition 2, partition 3, and sugar has that information. In the next time step, I moved my mesh, and interpolation points will change. But the partitions are same. So it has that information, so just search for where it is and does that. Sugar has 2 versions. One is this serial version, another is the parallel version. Parallel version is sugar plus, and it has restriction, distribution restriction for that. But we have access to parallel version as well. So again, this shows like some detailed timing on the sugar. Again, when we do these kind of simulations, we have to come up with very detailed timing. This is for 1 thread and 8 threads. So it is a multi-threaded, but it's not parallel. It's not MPI. Sugar is not MPI parallel, but it is sugar plus is MPI parallel. So it has multi-threading as well. So I'm going to go next is this incompressible code, which is it is based on hybrid discretization of a finite element and finite volume. It is second order accurate in time and space, and we use hybrid mesh, again the same. All the algorithms is same, but the equations are incompressible. That's it. So we use finite elements and finite volume method. The reason why we use the finite element is, especially in the boundary layer, when we use very stretched elements, finite element has some problems. That's why we use finite. We combine with the finite volume.
So in finite, for compressible flows, finite element?
It is all finite volume. Compressible is all finite volume. Incompressible is finite element, finite volume mixed. Yeah. So, and we use finite volume as finite volume for momentum equation. So the advection terms are integrated by parts, and upwind flux is used to enforce the continuity of the solution. So the element length problem handles well in finite volume. That's the advantage. So what we do is we have the momentum equation. So we solve the velocities using the finite volume at the element center, and also there is a pressure at the element center, but pressure is not solved directly at the element center. There is an auxiliary variable called Q for pressure. So Q is solved at nodes, elements, and then it is interpolated to cell center. So this is a segregated approach. For the mesh deformation, we use nonlinear elasticity equation, This actually very powerful. It can you can deform mesh very at very high stretching. Basically, you have a boundary, and you can either just move this as a solid object, or you can deform boundary as well. So the mesh should conform to new boundary. So we have like several publications regarding this CHH3 implementation. We use like several different cases to validate. One of them is the lid-driven cavity. Here there is no pressure boundary condition. Here we have, this is, these are, this one for 24 by 24 quad mesh, and this one is double the mesh, this one double this mesh. So as you increase the mesh density for this problem, matching with the velocity profile matching with the experiment looks really good, obviously. So we did some computational timing on that one. This is again very super linear speed up, and this also shows like how much the breakdown of the different components of the program. So we have like a problem setup, momentum equation, the pressure equations, turbulence equations. If there is like a free surface, because we have the free surface capability as well, or the MPI communication. So if you want to look at the MPI communication, it is, in this one is like 2.4%. And most of the time is used by the momentum equation, these two. So almost like 65%. This is the same incompressible flow solver can be used for a variety of the applications. So this one is Indianapolis mesh. Here is this is downtown. There are two towers, 700 feet, like more than 200 meters. And this is a new stadium. This stadium was demolished, but we still have that. And this is a power plant. It's a steam power plant. They burn coal. So when you burn coal, plume spreads around depending on the wind conditions. So we model this using this incompressible solver. I think it should show up. Yeah, okay. So the first one is, you said this, I'm going to run the movie clip. But here, this is a first order solution. Initially we did first order solution. In the first order solution, you don't really see much flow detail. It's like a linear plume dispersion. And then we started second order solution. It captures more details. In this one, you see on the background, we have like flow details. It's going to change. Also on the building surface, the pressure is changing. So here goes the second order solution, and there is much more detail, flow details in the second order solution.
Did you run this with Camel or this?
Camel.
So after running QI, you run that?
Yeah, we have this geometry, and we regenerated mesh. For this one, we used 60 million cells. Almost 60 million cells. And
the results compared?
Well, there is no results to compare because there is no experimental.
Oh, the ones that you did at Indianapolis.
For Indianapolis, we used first order solution because fluent. In Indianapolis, I should give some background information on this one. Initially, in 2006, we had a project in IUPI. Dr. Akay, he was the manager, he was the director of the Muri grant. So we had some.
I want to mention that this was an undergraduate research project.
Yes, exactly.
Muri.
we had Muri.
Or lab. We call it lab here.
We lab.
We call it lab.
Lab.
Lisans araştırma programı.
Oh, okay.
Here at Atılım Üniversitesi.
Yeah, we had. I think we had one year project, Muri project, and what happened in Indianapolis? There was a storm, big storm, and this building was seriously damaged. And it is believed that the wind speed has reached like 100 miles per hour in downtown area. Almost like 1/3 of the building on the top side, it was, the windows popped out or crashed in. And we thought maybe because we do like flow simulation, and this is not much different than flow around an airplane. So then, we started a project, and Muri granted a one-year project, and we had some undergrad students, very smart students. So we collaborated with city administration, and they provided us this geometry, and we generated mesh. And then we had the Fluent flow solver at that time, and we solved using the Fluent. Then the Fluent, we used first order solution. Second order we tried, but it crashed, and we were not really successful to do that. So that one was first order solution, yeah. And also because of some other limitations, we used like smaller mesh size up to like 2 million cells, but in this one we used like 60 million. And also we have a new project. Last year we got a project from Nuclear Regulatory Commission in US, and so that project is radioactive plume modeling over the residential zones and its health effects on humans. So because we use this incompressible solver for a variety of the applications, including like a lung. We have another project with NSF. It is lung modeling. We already have the model of lung at to certain depth. And so when you inhale a drug or anything, any particulate, so it goes into your lung and deposits because of the flow, turbulence, and etc. So we are going to study that, but for that we will, right now we are modeling much bigger Indianapolis. So we got
More buildings?
yeah, including IUPI campus and north side and other sides. So it's going to be
apply that nuclear thing to
yeah. That is the project. It's a 4-year project. Yeah.
How do you model the wind conditions?
Wind condition is, that's a good point. For this one, although in our center we have the atmospheric modeling, but for this one we just imposed constant wind condition on this side. So it is, let's say, it's probably maybe like 10 miles or 20 miles per hour, and like
wind speed?
yeah, wind speed from south west.
That's based on some measurement or statistics.
This is, what we did is we actually went back to maybe like 50 years of atmospheric records, like wind speed, pressure, etc. In Indianapolis, I'm sure in Turkey there are like measurements for the past wind atmospheric conditions, and so we went back and we just picked an average day wind. So in Indianapolis, like 10 miles per hour is like roughly the average wind condition. So if of course, I mean, higher winds is very extreme case, so very rarely it happens. But normally, what we should do is, if you want to do like just one case study, you need to go look at the statistics and pick the maybe like whatever you want to study, worst one or the mild condition or average one. So we just impose one, I guess the velocity on this side, and outside is just free.
How long does the solution take?
Well, it took quite some time. Yeah, we used in our like small cluster. Maybe because this was like a 60 million cells, and I think we did like maybe like 64 partition, and maybe it took a few days, less than a week, but a few days. Yeah.
So it's probably still too early to do these things online. So
Online?
that you can get the wind measurements from sensors, and feed it into computer, and
Real
see
time.
how the release of pollutants throughout the city, how they affect the quality of air in the city.
Yeah.
So I mean, it looks like a nice idea, but with the current capabilities, it seems a bit far-fetched at this point.
Yeah. I think it all depends on what accuracy you want from your simulation. If you want like a lower order calculations, and even you may not go into this much CFD, there are other dispersion methods. Roughly, I mean, this is really street level wind modeling. But you may be like just one building block should be sufficient. I mean, in your resolution, then yeah, the simulation may take less time, so you can do real time or online modeling.
What I had in mind
Yeah.
was, say Ankara, for example. The terrain in Ankara is like a bowl, and it has hills around the city,
Yeah.
and it is somewhat protected from the winds.
Mm.
And during the winter, when there's people burn coal, they burn mostly it is the natural gas, but some people burn coals. And when there is no wind and there is so much release of carbon monoxide, the quality of air in the city gets really hazardous for human
Yeah.
health. So then I was thinking maybe an online system could model the air quality and say, well, you can always measure it, but you can say, okay, with this trend, within 2 days, the air quality will get bad, so, you can announce to people to not burn coal or, take some other measures of
Yeah.
heating. But still, it seems we need much higher computational capabilities than we currently have
Yeah.
for projects like those.
There is in US, especially after 9/11, they have like threat levels, orange, yellow, red, it goes like that. So they have similar threat levels for air quality. So they say now that air quality is orange. So,
Is that based on measurements or projections?
well, I believe it is. There is a package code. You might want to check that. CMAQ. It's a freely available research simulation code. It is not like CFD. It uses much bigger grid. So you don't really model like buildings, but topology, the terrain. Okay? So you model the terrain, not buildings. Then that doesn't really take a long time. So they fed pollutant sources into that program and come up with a distribution of the pollutants. So I believe they use CMAQ. Yeah, I should double check that, but
So there's modeling.
yeah, there is a website, CMAQ, something like that. I mean, when you search it, you will just hit that one.
But here you use only 64 machines. Huh?
Yeah.
You use 2,000, 10,000 machines.
Yeah, you will get it like overnight. I mean,
Not
if you
overnight, few hours.
yeah, a few hours. If you want to do like a very detailed street level analysis, let's say we have a national supercomputing center. We don't have, but let's say next few years we will have it, and you can get the time for specific.
There is actually block people.
I don't know what infrastructure they have.
You get like 10,000 machines produced.
Soon? Okay, so there you go. So you will have an access, I believe you will have an access to that, then you can run it in a few hours and then, but to model, the first thing is simulation time, you can reduce it, but the model generation will take long. I mean, you should be ready for that. So you need, you have to generate topography of the Ankara area, metropolitan area. Maybe,
But it's done once.
pardon me?
It's done once.
It takes really long.
I mean,
And you
but
do
you
it
do it
once.
for you,
Oh
you
yeah,
do it one time.
yes, yeah, exactly. One, you can do it once and then you can update over time. If you have like a new buildings or the topology changes, etc. Yeah, but generation of this one takes time. I mean, I have 3-4 undergrad students to generate the mesh for the extended Indianapolis area. It's not as big as Ankara. They are still working on it.
Ankara would be more complicated.
Yeah,
There are hills. This is flat actually.
yeah.
Indianapolis is very flat.
We just run one more and then I will move into the wing flapping.
Actually, this is an interesting project. And this was an interesting project. It seems like now he's doing this for nuclear.
Yeah.
Nuclear
Yeah.
radiation. And I think another can do similar things too.
Yeah, it is very, I mean, for national security, these are really hot issues.
What are these light?
It's like mesh nodes and coordinates, I guess, from the mesh software. So it's nothing, just edges.
Looks ugly.
Yeah. Okay, so the wing flapping, so the next thing is, so we had the overset and now we have a deforming mesh. This one is I'm going to show a wing flapping case. Wing flapping is, although the idea is not new, but in maybe last decade, there is an interest into like micro aircrafts or micro flying objects. And when we say micro air vehicle, MAV, we are talking about like a small airplane of 15 centimeters and smaller. So for that, one of the propulsion idea is wing flapping, because the wing flapping is very efficient. But the wing flapping is a little difficult. I think I'm running over time, so I will finish it soon. So wing flapping is, it is very unsteady, and mechanism of the lift generation is not by the pressure difference between the upper and lower surface of the wing. It's actually a vortex system. So the tip vortices are very important for that. So there are like experimental studies using high resolution measurement technique, but it is really challenging because of size. So here the motion is for the wing flapping. There is a, when we do this wing flapping, so there is this motion, and there is also pitching, there is also this rolling motion. So there are like, it's a combination of at least the two motions or the three motions. So for the wing, for this study, there is a test case called RoboFly. This is actually a experimental study, and so we got the geometry and generated a CFD mesh. So at the edge, you see we have really fine mesh, and also boundary layer mesh we applied. And here is the domain. So this is a symmetric plane. It sits here. So here, here is the test case. It's actually 25 centimeters from the root. And this tank, like half a meter depth, half a meter width, and almost like more than 1 meter depth, it is filled with oil, so dense oil. So the reason, actually this is a model of fruit fly, sinek, bildiğimiz kara sinek. It's a wing of that fruit fly, but we can't... Evet, yeşil yeşil sinek diyelim şu anda. So it's very small, but you can't really do experiment on that. So they come up with, like, in fluid experiments there is like a similarity principle, so you can make your model bigger and change your Reynolds number so that at the end when you measure you can get like a similar results as if the actual model. So they did that, they did some measurements on this one. Here how it looks like, this experimental study. So this is a tank filled with oil, and there are two wings. There is a mechanism, it flaps. Here. Although it's not as clear here, but there is a little visualization here. You can see how the vortices are forming. Maybe you may notice that.
So this wing is what kind of material?
This is a plexiglass or something. It is, but it shouldn't be really flexible. It is a rigid wing. Yeah, it's not flexible. So we used Camel incompressible flow solver for this one. We used deforming mesh, and here is a flow solution. Actually, this is, so in the symmetry plane, this mesh shows the symmetry plane, and then wing, on the wing, this coloring is the pressure distribution. So this mesh deforms. Actually, this nonlinear elasticity equations, it is really, we have some fine tuning on that, but it does like 160 degrees sweep, and mesh doesn't get tangled. So no overlapping cells or stretching.
But wing is, you said, is it elastic?
It is, no, it's not elastic. This is rigid by the motion, but the mesh attached to that, we have to deform that. And also on the symmetry plane, mesh slides. You see the mesh slides. So it's a lot deformation. I mean, it is really...
So but it solves that mesh every time?
Yes, every time step we have to solve nonlinear elasticity equation. It takes really time, but that is useful. Or we have to use overset technique.
Takes a lot of time or little?
I think it takes some time, yeah. We didn't do time optimization on that, but this is what we...
Is it parallel too?
Yeah, everything is parallel. We use like a same solution. We recycle the one code on another application, so it's not that difficult. And this is the wing pressure distribution, the similar things, but just to show you two wings moving together here.
How many people work in that center that you work with?
We have, including me, 6, and we have maybe 6 to 10 students here.
6 researchers?
The Shahruz is the director, and me, and then we have
Other
3, 4. We have 3, 4 postdocs. Yeah.
And then how many graduate students?
We have 2. Actually, we have 2 grad students, and we have maybe 6 to. It changes 6 to 10 undergrad students. We have enough funding to have more.
Are they all paid by the project?
Everything, yeah.
Everybody.
Everything is paid by.
Including Shahruz? Shahruz probably is a
Yeah.
professor full-time.
He's a full-time, but he's probably like 25% on school, yeah. Rest is paid by all
Only
projects,
25%.
yeah. I don't know, 25 or 30 maybe more, but I think, yeah, most of them,
So then he teaches less courses.
yeah, 1 or 2, I think. this is a vorticity, constant vorticity around the wing. So you see the lift is actually generated because of these like tip vorticities. You see how it is rolling and creating the pressure difference. So what we did is we compared lift distribution with the experiment. Although it matches at certain points, but it didn't match really on this level. And although the profile looks similar, but also in experiment there are also some uncertainties. So we were really hardly applied the right frequency. So when we played with the frequency, then actually it matched better. So this is a very sensitive to frequency of the wing.
Like everything else in these solutions, you tweak some values and
Exactly.
magically everything matches.
Exactly. It's like there's always fine tuning. Yeah, always. So this ends my presentation, and if you have any questions, I would be happy to answer. I'm sorry it took a little longer, guys. Maybe
You will have
15 minutes?
shorter lunchtime.
Okay. Actually, I reduced my portion, so.
Have you done any sloshing analysis?
Sloshing?
In tanks, for example?
No, we didn't do, but we have free surface flow solvers, same camel family. We have free surface flow solvers, so it's not a big deal. We actually do we have two fluid flow solvers. So, for example, a wave or water, rush in, so it's the same sloshing, right? So when water comes in, we actually have it. So you have this free surface flow solver. I mean, this wave comes and hits the wall and then comes back, hits and comes back. And we have also dam breaking. So we have a dam breaking solver, and it's pretty good, yeah.
And you also show the building that you said you did some studies. There was no detail about that. You modeled a specific building.
Yeah.
And what was the context of that study?
Oh, that wind damage.
Oh, you said in Indiana there was you modeled a specific building.
Yes, that was the.
That was a damaged building, that's what he's asking.
Yeah, like a big storm hit the downtown
Oh, I see. It
area.
was storm damage. I thought it was
damage. Yeah.
it was fluid flow in the within the building.
Oh no! It was external, like wind flow. So it was just a few seconds event, but it damaged several stories of the building. And now actually they put like a new facade around the building.
That's another research area, the energy efficiency of buildings. Modeling the the heat generation and its distribution in the building, where it's lost, and how you can optimize the system, the whole system, to make the building more energy efficient.
Yeah.
Airflow, so air circulation in the building.
In the building.
And also the heating system, how do you optimize it?
Heating, cooling.
Yeah, it is material. You need convective. You need conjugate heat modeling, I guess, to do that. Model the material as well as the convection.
All right, any more questions? Adnan, thank you.